So today I will talk about Lilith, and I will soon start making series of videos which are targeted toward beginners and how they can approach Lilith. So first and foremost, where to start while approaching Lilith? This is my advice. Lilith shouldn't be the first spirit you approach. In most cases, when beginners and unserious people try to approach Lilith, she appears either partially or she doesn't appear at all. If Lilith wants to come to a beginner, she will come to a beginner herself and guide beginner or other person who is practicing magic towards her through other people or intense synchronicities. So if you are a beginner and you didn't have any strong synchronicities which pull you towards Lilith, nobody guided you to work with Lilith, nobody gave you advice to work with Lilith, and she didn't approach you herself, don't call Lilith. That's thing number one. Because today I will talk about some dangers in regard to working with Lilith. This channel so far was directed solely towards promoting Lilith as figure who is not extremely negative. But today I want to talk about some warnings and issues you have to be aware of while working with Lilith. Because Lilith is on a darker side of the spectrum. She has positive aspects. She has destructive aspects. She has both sides of that coin, if I can phrase it correctly. If we want to describe Lilith in one sentence, it would be a superwoman. She has all of the qualities, of the positive qualities we associate with the females. And those qualities are extremely intense, but she also has negative qualities associated with the female, and those negative qualities are also extremely intense. She can be extremely protective mother, but also extremely baneful entity which will kill you and eat you alive. She can be both of those things. Now, how you can literally reach and communicate with the most protective and motherly aspects of Lilith. How you can get the best out of work with her. In a lot of cases, I made videos with practical techniques. How to call Lilith, which chants to use, what to do, what not to do, okay? But today, this will be a more philosophical video and more kind of theoretic video, because I want to talk about some issues and concepts here. So, as I said previously, Lilith can be extremely protective mother, an extremely baneful and vengeful succubus which vampirizes and kills people. So here is the thing. If you want to get the best from your relationship with Lilith, you need to be fusion of the opposites too. Let me explain. You need to be humble enough and vulnerable enough so you do not try to command her and boss her around. But you also need to have enough of pride and self-respect to not be somebody who is literally licking her vagina, if this makes sense. Because, let me explain. I had a lot of places and a lot of cases of people becoming too subservient to Lilith. And it didn't end well. If you become too subservient to her, if you do everything, absolutely everything she says, it won't end well. Because you need to be aware that Lilith is a vampire. And whenever you give the energy to Lilith, you are in contact partially with her vampiric aspect. And if you give her too much energy, she can become addicted to your energy and she can eat you alive. But if you don't give her any energy, it is disrespectful and she will become angry after some time. So you need to give her some energy, but she also needs to give you some energy. There needs to be balance in how much you are receiving and how much you are giving. Because a lot of people tried to boss Lilith around and they died. And a lot of people tried to lick Lilith's vagina and they died too. So you need to find balance between the two. Because when you are working with vampiric forces, whenever you are giving them energy, you are coming in contact with their vampiric aspects. And if you give them too much energy, vampiric presence can become too strong. And it can have disastrous consequences for you. So you need to be aware of all of the benefits you can receive from Lilith. She can be extremely protective mother, extremely powerful teacher, extremely loving lover, extremely transcendental being which can transmute yourself to beyond any limits of power you imagined. But you also need to be aware of the dangers. You need to be aware that you are in communion with a being which can be extremely destructive. And a lot of people, to be honest, completely disregard her destructive aspects. And they either don't reach those aspects at all, or are completely incapable of knowing how to behave when they approach those aspects. Because if you are not able to work with vampiric aspects of Lilith correctly, and if you are not able to find a balance between her motherly attributes and her vampiric attributes, you will either be completely destroyed, or Lilith will interact with you just in her motherly aspect, and you will be completely unable to learn more painful and aggressive forms of her arts, which are necessary for ascension. Because her vampiric aspect and her vampiric behavior exists for a reason. Only if you master both her motherly aspect and her vampiric aspect, you can understand her mysteries completely. If you focus only on vampiric aspect, you will become a psychopath. If you focus only on motherly aspect, you will kinda become too emotional. You will start to feel too much empathy, and people will start abusing that. So I need to point out that sexual succubus aspect of Lilith is one of the versions of her vampiric aspect. So when you communicate with succubus form of Lilith, with Lilith as the seductress, you are communicating with light version of Lilith as a vampire. It objectively doesn't matter, is she coming to vampirize your sexual energy or your blood or just the energy from your aura. It's still the same form of energetic interaction. It's a little bit of different form, but to be honest, it's the same thing. So if you want to work with her, you need to master both of those aspects. And my advice to people is, in order to work with her as a beginner, I advise you to approach her in her motherly aspect. You need to present yourself as a willing teacher, not as a willing teacher, but as a willing student. And you need to present herself as somebody who is seeking knowledge, and as somebody who is seeking spiritual fulfillment, and somebody who is seeking love and compassion and communion. If you start giving sexual energy immediately, if you start insisting on her sexual aspects immediately, vampiric form of her can go over the roof, and you can be dead or insane really quickly. Because if you give her too much energy at once, there is objective danger of you being obliterated. That's just the fact. So, if you want to approach her motherly aspect, she will still sometimes come in a succubus aspect. She will still sometimes come in your dreams and go at the top of you and play with you sexually, etc., etc. Here is the thing. I had many troubles and tribulations while working with Lilith. And my advice with the beginners is this. Lilith, in beginning of your interaction, especially if you are male, if you didn't came to seek exclusively knowledge and protection and love and stuff like that, and wisdom and spiritual fulfillment or some kind of an emotional self-discovery, if you don't have those needs, she will come to you as a beginner in her succubus aspect. So if that happens, the best behavior is like this. In your initial interactions with her succubus aspect, enjoy it. Like if you call Lilith, for example, and in 2 days you have dream of Lilith getting at the top of you, enjoy the dream and give her that sexual energy. But there needs to be a limit there. Enjoy her succubus aspect a little bit. Maybe once a week, or once a month, or a few times a month. And after that initial interaction is kinda built, then work with her in her motherly aspect. Don't give her any direct sexual energy. Work with her in that kind of mother-son or mother-daughter relationship. That kind of a thing. Until you build enough of the energy body, of energetic power, of knowledge and experience in interacting with her, so you can more seriously devote yourself to her succubus workings and to her vampiric workings. Because if you start with vampiric workings too early, it can kill you or send you to the mental asylum. There are real dangers in those workings. And I hope this is enough for today. This was more like, to be honest, introduction to my video series regarding work with Lilith and beginners. This will be definitely only one of many videos on this topic, but next few videos will be more about practical things you can do, but this is kinda theoretic introduction. So see you next time and enjoy the night side, guys.